Well, the Prime Minister has declared a state of emergency in the north of the country. Joining me now, the spokesman for the State of Emergency Task Force, Redwan Hussein, and we welcome you to the show. Thank you for joining us. You say the Ethiopian National Forces are in control of Shire, which for our viewers is northeast of Mekelle. Thousands of refugees are living in camps in the area. And last year, the Prime Minister won the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the border conflict with Eritrea. How is your government protecting civilians at this point?
Thank you, Becky, for having me. Yes, just like I said, there had been an attack on our defense forces, which have been very much unbecoming and Prisoners Act. The government is now trying to make sure that in areas which have been unfettered from the TPLF forces, now we are constituting administrative structures there so that UN agencies and other partners in government would provide food and other medical staffs. But some Ethiopians, because they were afraid, on the other part, because they were made to be afraid, being created hysteria from the TPLF forces to flee their environment so that they campaigned the humanitarian crisis. So many of them crossed to Sudan, yes. Now the government is trying to convince them to bring them back and then provide shelter and food and items for within the areas which have been actually freer from the grip of TPLF.
So the United Nations says delivery of humanitarian supplies in Tigray remains, and I quote them here, impossible. The region has been sealed off and it is running out of food. Your government and you yourself have said corridors are being established. So why is the UN saying it is still impossible to get aid in?
In the first instances, there was the conflict, and then some areas were unsafe. So the government had to send a fact-finding machine. Now our fact-finding machine is on the ground, and then they are finding out which areas could be safer for UN agencies and government to send food items. And now we've been talking with different UN agencies as to how to provide food, but the TPLF forces are now making it even harder because they are breaking bridges while they are fleeing away. Now they have already broken 4 bridges, and then we still have to grapple with identifying the areas which one would be safer to provide food and medical items in the center of Tigray.
You have accused Tigray's People's Liberation Front forces of sheltering military equipment in schools, in mosques, in churches, and that the Ethiopian government is avoiding those. You have so far not provided any evidence of this, and CNN has been unable to verify that. What evidence do you have that that is what the forces are doing? That is where they are sheltering?
The government forces have intelligence information where these armaments are located, and then they kept on moving, changing the locations so that they can be nearer to schools and churches. No, you can witness we have a week-long airstrike, and then no person have been actually died because of this strike. So that tells you, one, there is a very precision target. The other one is pilots simply avoiding targets which are nearer to church and the schools. But there still are some possibilities whereby some schools or some houses could be inflicted because they are too much nearer. We know we have avoided a number of targets, and we know churches whereby even the leadership now left their houses and hotels, and now they are using churches for both for store arms and then also to send their propaganda within the churches. We know where it is, but the government tries to lead them away.
Let me ask you this one question very, very briefly. The Tigray People's Liberation Front forces are not unfamiliar to the Ethiopian government. And where does this go? How does this end, sir?
The objective of the operation has already been made clear. There are 3 objectives. One is to rest the soldiers, the generals which have been subdued when the heinous attack was occurred against them. The second objective is to uphold the rule of law within the country and uphold constitution. The third and the final objective is there are about 100 ringleaders against which arrest warrant is issued. And if they surrender peacefully, then the operation would be unnecessary. So, one, it reduces the time that it takes. Two, it reduces casualties that might come. Third, it paves the way for a peaceful, cordial dialogue to bring about lasting peace. But there are leaders which are criminals, which are now being using the human shield and also using churches and schools and mosques for this criminal act. They didn't hide when they came to the open and then openly said they took a preemptive strike against Ethiopian forces. That is treasonous enough.
Okay, sir, I'm going to have to leave it there. I've got to take a break. But for the benefit of those who are being displaced by this conflict, we hope that a ceasefire will happen sooner rather than later. Thank you, sir. And we will be right back.